In this clip, John and I are talking about the National Guard, DC crime, and what it really means when the president turns politics into a weapon. The way the media framed this one, yeah, okay. We broke down race, power, and activism. This is why we hold space like this. Real talk, respectful voices, and just a little bit of mess to keep it interesting. Leave your take in the comments.
Speaking of buffets, we have the shit show who has decided that he is going to eat and try to consume everything possible with respect to throwing shit on the wall to see what's going to stick and what's going to resonate with trying to change the story off of Jeffrey Epstein. And so this week he decided that, you know what, I can never lose by doing something that will shit on black folk. So what can I do now that will allow me to move my agenda forward, at the same time show that I'm a strong man and I'm this big husky strong fellow because I'm, strong and virile and all those things. And so he decided that he was going to send the National Guard to DC and try to take over the DC Police Department. What say you about that?
I feel that, first let me say this. Two things I want to say. I don't know if those Epstein files ever will be released, because I don't believe that whatever we find in there is going to just be isolated to a Republican. I think that there are other people that could be impacted with this. So I'd be very curious if that is released. Number one. Number two, for the record, for any hater out there, hater in a loving way, that out there that says this, I am of the mindset that when I'm out walking the streets of Austin, I want to be safe. I don't want to be accosted. I don't want my children or my family to be accosted. So I'm all for safety on the streets. In this particular case, I feel that metropolitan areas, LA, DC, New York, they could benefit from additional support. But for this one, I feel like they took a machete to the problem instead of a scalpel. Okay, so for the National Guard, they do have a different skill set than, say, like the Marines that were deployed in LA. And they can assist with some civil unrest in some different situations. But for this one, why not have a conversation with the local authorities? What can we do to support you? Because we know that there's a national crisis in terms of getting police officers in those positions. And then, that came probably because of 2020 and Black Lives Matter, how we politicized the police department. Some of the complaints were obviously justified, but there is a shortage there. So having a conversation with the local authorities and saying, what can we do to address the crime, the violence, the whatever? The problem I have specifically in DC and having the military response, and this is going to go back to some of the comments that people talked about Howard, that's in that area, and how one of the cornerstones of that university is activism. If we're not clear on the definition of activism, that becomes civil disobedience. And when you have a military force that's not trained in but they're in escalating a situation, you're going to be a different response. And when you're in brown and black communities primarily, and you're saying, oh my goodness, these kids are out here doing whatever, it must be civil disobedience, let's deploy the military. Then we have Kent State 1970. We don't want that.
When you think about the cities that have crime problems, and I'm looking at the cities, number one is Memphis, Tennessee. Number two is Oakland, California. Number three is St. Louis, Missouri. Number four is Baltimore. 5, Detroit. 6 is Alexandria, Louisiana. 7, Ohio. 8, Louisiana. 9, Louisiana. 10, Colorado. And I'm not going to read through the top 25, but the top 25 cities that have the most crime, 10 of them are in Democratic-led states. 15 of them, 15 are in Republican-led states. It is not an accident that he is targeting LA, DC, Chicago, other cities that are blue states that have black mayors. He did not reach out to Memphis, which is a predominantly black city, but it's in a Republican state. He did not reach out to Shreveport, Louisiana, which is a predominantly black city, but it's in a Republican state. He did not reach out to Little Rock, Arkansas, which is a predominantly black city, which is in a Republican state. And so what that tells me is this is not about crime. This is about race. And this is about him saying to these black mayors in these predominantly blue states that I'm going to use whatever levers of power I have to try to control the citizens of this particular city to let them know that I am law, I am order, and I'm going to make your life a living hell. It's not about deterring crime.
Thank you so much for saying that, because I can agree with that. And when you look at where it's deployed, I do believe that. If I want to go ahead and explore conspiracy theories, which sometimes I like to do, it could be setting it up for declaring martial law. And maybe he does want to have this third term as president. I love the way that the citizens in LA, how they responded to the Marines being there. They didn't do anything. And I think that it's like poking, seeing what we can do so that I can have the full force of the military. I took such offense of him using the Marine Corps in particular, because when a Marine puts on his fatigues and puts on his dress blues or her dress blues or their dress blues, it is to defend the American people and the Constitution, not to be used as a political weapon by the President of the United States. I took huge offense to that. That is not their job. They are there to protect the American Constitution as is, not as interpreted.
I understand that, and I agree and respect that and take your point on it. I'm reading this article in the Washington Post that came out, and it talked about 3 Republican-led states that said, we're going to send additional National Guard support to help the shit show with what he's trying to do in D.C. And I looked at the states, and it was South Carolina, the great state of South Carolina, Ohio, and West Virginia. And remember I said that there were 25 cities that had the most crime? Multiple cities in Ohio. D.C. wasn't even listed on this list of 25, but there were at least 3 or 4 cities in Ohio. Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, which is the area where I'm from, was listed. And I'm like, if you're going to send the National Guard to someplace, send them to your own frigging cities in your own frigging states and stop making this about politics.
It is about politics. The U.S. military is to defend us, all Americans. And this president tried this under his first Secretary of Defense, Mattis, I believe that was, and it didn't work. So now he has Pete up there, and he is malleable, and he's going to be using the military as a weapon, as an extension of this person's political will. I just have a huge issue with that.
Well, you're talking about the drunkard from Fox News.
I'm talking about the Secretary of Defense.
Yes, Pete, yeah, he's from Fox.
We don't know if he has a drinking problem.
No, he has a drinking problem.
Allegedly.
No, he has
I'm saving you. Allegedly.
So the thing that bothers me more than anything, and you brought up the Mecca and how this can impact students at the Mecca.
Right.
Because of where Howard is situated, we don't have a traditional campus where you have a lot of students who live. The students who live on campus traditionally are going to be freshmen, and freshmen are going to do what freshmen do. So I do take your point with respect to they may get out and they may do what it is that they will do.
And I hope that they do. That's the reason why I would have sent my son there. I want him to exercise his rights of freedom of speech. I want him to be an activist. I want him to lend his voice to right wrongs. I would want him to do that. That's the reason why I would send you there. So yes, exercise your rights.
Yeah, I think, from that standpoint, there is some buzz, and I saw on social media this week that you had some Howardites asking whether or not we should cancel homecoming coming up, or whether or not we should do X, Y, Z. I'm like, you're not going to let this guy dictate how we go about living our lives and celebrating our culture. I will say this with respect to DC and with respect to the police force in DC. Muriel Bowser, who is the mayor there, I think has done an admirable job, a very good job in terms of how she's been able to navigate what's going on. She's been able to walk a fine line with respect to understanding DC and what DC can do, and how it is that DC still needs Congress to be able to enact some of the things that it would want to do. But what this thing has shown a light on is that DC needs to be a state. It should not be a territory where individuals who are not in the district are making laws that impact the residents of the District of Columbia. It bothers me tremendously that when Democrats controlled both houses of Congress, and I get that there's certain things that have to be done in order to make DC and Puerto Rico states. But it seems to me that back in 2008, when Democrats had both House and the Senate, that this should have been, along with Obamacare, one of the things that they pushed for to make DC a 51st state and make Puerto Rico the 52nd state. Because if DC and or Puerto Rico were Republican leaning, Republicans would have moved heaven and earth to ensure that those two became states. Dems and their inability to have a backbone on certain things, or not try to quote unquote piss people off is something that's causing them to be bit in the ass with respect to having someone like the shit show in office who couldn't care less about laws, couldn't care less about what it is that he may or may not be constitutionally able to do. He's like, okay, if I can't do it, I'm going to do it until you stop me.
Exactly. Like a child,
Right.
like a little child that doesn't know his boundaries or his or her boundaries. And I'm going to keep doing this until my mom comes and tells me what my boundaries are. Oh, can I go this far? How about now? Oh, I'm in the street? Okay, great.
I agree with you. And I take your point that I think LA, DC are tests for him to see what can I get away with and what am I going to be allowed to get away with respect to the citizens and with respect to Congress and with respect to Democrats. And I think Democrats, if they're smart with everything that's going on, this guy is giving you a playbook in terms of how to beat him, how to beat those who may try to come after him. I love what it is that Gavin Newsom is doing and how it is that he is fighting back and using his pulpit and his platform to speak truth to power. And it seems to me that it's probably not a bad blueprint to follow with respect to what he has been able to do and how he's been able to combat some of the things that the shit show is trying to do. What say you about your wonderful native state?
I think it's interesting that you brought up Gavin Newsom. I know he's problematic for some people, just the way that he handled some things during COVID. But a lot of people that have not been friends or fans of his have commended him for the way that he's handling it. And I think that it's also interesting to me that we don't like this term, make America great or take America back away. But a lot of times Democrats want to live in the past where we were civil and we would reach across the aisle and like, oh, what do you want? What do you want? Would you like to come to our barbecue? Like whatever it is. Those days are gone. Stop. You're getting kicked in the face in the playground. Stop it. I will say this. So we had in Texas on Saturday, they had a rally regarding the redistricting. And I didn't go out to it because, again, I was taking a 3-hour nap. Priorities. But one of the things I'll say, and for somebody that loves to mix it up and I love to get into the ring, for this one, I say we collectively need to stay and be steadfast. And we can't respond in kind when the military are out. We can't do another Ferguson. We can't do those things because he wants us to do that. He would be so excited if we went out there in the streets and started throwing bottles and doing whatever. Oh my God, finally. No. We've got to be strong. We've got to be strategic. We've got to be smart. Look to Gavin Newsom and step up. Stop getting kicked in the face in the playground. It's embarrassing and I don't like it.
Yeah, I'm going to disagree here. I'm going to use the saying from the great John Lewis. Sometimes you have to find a little good trouble, find some good trouble to get into.
With that good trouble is what I'm saying, that we can't do our same playbook where we're out in the streets rallying and doing all these things. Because again, the definition of activism, the definition of good trouble has changed and shifted under this administration. I'm never, ever going to say stay at home and just be good. I have never in my life said anything like that. I'm saying be smart.
Okay, I get that. But sometimes to take images of Tiananmen Square, of the riots in the 68 and the water hoses and the dogs, sometimes it takes images to break through the cycle of what it is that people are seeing day in and day out.
Okay, John, let me just say something. Which the person that aligns with Cersei in the Game of Thrones, and I choose violence constantly. Let me say this, that the images that you saw at the Capitol, the response to those bodies would be completely different if the bodies were your son, my sons, me, or you. And I'm tired of our bodies being used to move the American people because we don't get off the ground. We don't get to go home. And so when you use our bodies to move a nation, we're gone. And I'm tired of being used that way. So I hear what you're saying.
Okay, I take your point.
The image is worth 1,000 words. But why does it have to be my dead body?
Okay, so I take your point. So let me modify what I just said. White folk, get out there and get on the front.
Yes, why don't you do that? Chad, Abby, get out there and do it. We need you.
Yeah, Black folk will be at the cookout.
We'll be not a picnic because that's racist. We won't be there. We'll be at a cookout.
You will not be at the cookout. You don't have an invitation. All right. Thank you for indulging me today. Ms. Lynn, what do you have planned for this week?
John, This is the week that my babe goes to college, and I am struggling. I'm going to be
Goes
real
back to
vulnerable.
goes back to college.
He goes back to go, but he's leaving out of state.
You ran him
And
off.
I'm sorry?
You ran him off.
No, it's really tough for me. I'm having a hard time with this. And I know that this is an opportunity for us to reimagine our relationship, because I know he's never coming back. And if he does come back, he's going to come back as a different version of himself, which is amazing. But the little kid that would sit on the couch with me and cuddle up and watch movies and make pizza with me and build forts in the living room, that's over. And I am grieving for that. I'm really having I'm having a hard time with it. Like right now, tears are coming. I am having a hard time with it. And so I need to process that and that there's a new adventure for us. And I'm struggling with it. I'm gonna be real honest. I'm struggling with it. And maybe that's why I took a 3-hour nap yesterday. It's been tough for me. So I'm going to be going through that. We'll see what happens.
So think about it this way. You could always go into the yearbook of the school that he's going to, and he's going to school in Arizona, I believe, right? So you can look at the yearbook and find some wonderful girls there that you'd like to see him start hanging out with, and start sending him pictures and say, hey, no.
You know this about me, that I want to be a grandma, but I want to be a fake grandma. I don't want to be a real grandma. The real grandmas have to do stuff. Like, can you watch this baby? No, I'm fake grandma, and I'm not doing any of those things. So when I date again, I'm looking for someone that already has kids, and or grandchildren. I will be the fake grandma. I don't want to be real grandma. That's too much work. If they start coming to me like, I've got a problem, we need to FaceTime real grandma, because I'm fake grandma, and I'm okay if you call me FG. I'm fine with that.
Wow.
So I won't be introducing him to girls. So the next thing you know, they're like, oh, Nana 2. No, there's no Nana 2. I'm only fake grandma. That's all I want to be.
Okay. Ms. Lynn, it's been, as always, a wonderful dialogue with you. Thank you for taking the time to pontificate on various topics. We talked about the shit show and his takeover or wannabe takeover of the DC Police Department. And we had a wonderful exchange about Miss Lynn and her messiness in terms of eating, and her messiness in terms of apparently her closet. So if you're interested in dating her, no.
Good luck.
There's going to be some messy eating and messy closets in the future. Guys, as always, thank you for taking time to spend time talking to us today. We understand that you have many things that you could be doing with your day, but we're glad that you're giving us just a few minutes of your time. This week, take some time to do something nice for yourself. And while you're at it, make some time to do something nice for someone else. Until next time, we'll talk to you.
Thanks for tuning in to another lively conversation on I Take Your Point. This podcast is a production of the SME LLC Media Group. All rights reserved. If you are enjoying the show, hit the subscribe button in the top right corner. And don't forget to like, share, comment, and check out past episodes. Until next time, take care and be well.